I had just gotten off my flight from LA and walked to go and hop in a cab. The guy turned around and he was sort of at first glance just said, "Oh, I'll be right with you, sir." I would say it probably happens at least once a month. It shocks me every time and makes me really stop and think, is it because I don't have boobs anymore? I had taken my junior year abroad and felt as if I just felt this incredible freedom in life and possibility. And I went home to LA and went for just routine checkups. And lo and behold, he said, "You have thyroid cancer." It was shocking. I don't know that I fully understood in that moment what it would mean really for the next 20 years of my life. And I, maybe not in that particular moment, but in those months, disconnected from my body. My mom had breast cancer when she was 31. So because of her history and because I had already had cancer, I was encouraged to go and get tested for the BRCA gene, which if you test positive, you have a much higher risk over your lifetime of having breast cancer. And I tested positive. The doctors were saying, well, given how early your mom had her diagnosis, you really should think about if you're going to have kids, when you want to have kids, and then really think about having a preventive double mastectomy. It almost pushed the gas pedal and added fuel to a fire that was already going. I was starting to date the man who became my daughter's father. I think I put all of that internal stress and put it towards him. and was like, well, if you're signing up to be with me, then we should make this happen and we should get together and we should get married and we should have a kid because I need to get the show on the road. My daughter was born, and when she was 7 months old, had the preventive double mastectomy. I was presented with the options of, here are the implants that most women get. And I remember there being a little whisper of like, really? This is it? If doing nothing was presented, it was certainly not presented without bias. And I don't recall it being presented. The expanders were heavy and uncomfortable and weird and moved around. And the implants were heavy and uncomfortable and didn't move around at all. I know I wasn't cognizant of how uncomfortable I was, but I detached from them. I wanted to be a good mother. I wanted to be a good wife. I was living in Southern California. Most women were blonde and had big boobs, and so I grew my hair out. I wore dresses. I stepped into this role fully. January 2016, my daughter and I were having New Year's Eve together, and I had spent the last 2 or 3 years really doing an inventory of self and life. I had looked at all of these outfits. I was starting to have the wherewithal to realize that I had been living in this sort of fantasy land. I was sitting there on New Year's Eve and I asked my daughter, let's pick words of what we want 2016 to be about. And I chose embodiment. 3 days after New Year's, a friend of mine came over and she said, I'm thinking about having my implants removed. She said those words and it was just as if everything went doo, 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 doo. I called my doctor the next day and he said, you will be flat at best case scenario, but you've now had implants on your chest wall for, at that point it was 8 years. So it's also likely that you might be concave. It was as if all of the decisions that had come before led to this moment of utter clarity and utter knowing of self, and to be able to confidently say, yes, I want to be flat. I'm excited to be flat. I went back into the pre-op room that I had now been in probably 5 or 6 times. And I remember when I got wheeled back to the actual operating room. And again, it's, remember the white subway tiles. I mean, it all was so familiar, but I was so awake and aware this time and just present and calm. I woke up on the other side and I took a deep breath and I could actually breathe. And that was when I realized what had shut down and how much had shut down. this is how I'm meant to be. This feels as if this is me. Which is why I think I have so much cause for pause and thinking when I hear someone call me sir. It's because I've never felt more feminine. I feel more like a woman than ever before without my breasts. My name is Samantha Paige, and I'd like to dispel the myth that breasts equal femininity.